Yeah, it's
So
nice,
yeah, I'm
nice
enjoying
there.
it so far. I think there's a little. I'm hoping that it's the animators that are like skipping a couple scenes just for like shortcuts, rather
Yeah,
than the author literally just like, hey, these two are okay now, because like that would suck. That's lazy writing.
yeah. You would know, Mr. Writer.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Herbal Synergies, the shop. I'm your host Sinji with my co-host with me as always, Bay.
What up?
What's up?
The usual.
What's up?
This isn't '08. You ain't gotta do that no more.
Oh, my bad, my bad. I'm a little behind on the times, you know.
Or '06, or whenever we was doing that.
I think when that scary movie came out, the parody. What's
Yeah,
up?
I don't remember. That was many, many moons ago.
So how you doing, Herbie? What's up, man?
I'm doing all right, hanging in there.
Hanging in there.
Let it hang 10 like Johnny Tsunami, baby.
Oh,
Mm.
okay, all right, moving on.
Oh, okay.
Flavor of the
Dang.
week. You got one before the
I
jokes get
do.
worse?
They always get worse. Remember that. But flavor of the week. I started watching this new anime called Moriarty the Patriot, which is pretty cool.
Sounds like
To
something
get
to be up your alley.
yeah, it's miss. He's a criminal mastermind, which you're familiar with Sherlock Holmes. He's his nemesis, but first watching, I didn't put two and two together. I was like Moriarty. I was like, isn't he the bad one? But he was helping people, so it kind of threw me off. He has his own altruistic purposes for helping people in certain ways. But anyhow, it starts off his adopted brother, Albert Moriarty. Uh, it's him and his brother. They're orphan. They're at the orphanage and they get adopted by Albert. And the brothers, Lewis and William Moriarty, they want to stop the social caste of people being beneath each other and just want all people to be like equal footings and stuff. So Albert adopts and then he finds out like his biological brother doesn't change and he's like the aristocrats are inherently evil, so he ends up killing his own brother and his parents, and then the two orphan twins and him assume the parents' identity in their brother. So I was like, man, my man killed his own flesh and blood to start this revolution. I was like, dang, it's pretty
Gotta do
cold.
what you gotta do, man.
Yeah, because he didn't agree with the way people were treated. So,
Okay.
yeah, I liked it. It's good so far.
Better than One Piece.
See, I didn't even say that.
We all know you thought it.
I didn't think it at all till you said it.
We all know you did.
I did
At
not.
one point or another, you were gonna compare it to One Piece and say, "Why better than One Piece?"
Nope, I was not going to do that.
Listen, we have a solid about 3 or 4 people who watch on YouTube, and I
Hmm.
know 1 or 2 people who listen. Actually, we might have lost one, unfortunately. You let me know if you think Irby was gonna say that.
Nope, I wasn't going to say it today. I'm trying to turn over a new leaf.
Was this a New Year resolution?
No, I
Okay,
don't
because
need
I
a
don't
New
believe
Year
in those.
resolution. I just started doing something different. I can't change. You think I'm supposed to be the same way forever?
A One Piece hater, yeah.
Dang.
That Bleach making a
Mm-mm-mm.
comeback though.
Bleach is dead to me.
Whatever, ain't dead to me.
Shoot. Yeah, your flavor, Saya.
Um, my flavor isn't really as much as something I thought was really cool. It's again something that I saw. So I started watching this. Excuse me. this
You're
show on
excused.
Crunchyroll called "The Strongest Sage with the Weakest Crest." And I had the manga before the anime came out, and I think I recommended it to our boy Pete, and I recommended it to you. Whether you watch it, I don't know. I know Pete will probably get to it eventually. But
What
right off the
call?
bat, having read the manga, about 4 volumes worth, and watching anime, like they immediately removed like a big chunk of the first portion of the story where like you see how the main character got to where he's going, and I was just like, I kind of like this part of the story and you removed it and I don't understand why, but whatever. But it's I think there's 3 episodes out right now. I was in the middle of watching either the third or fourth one, and it's good. And I give it a shot.
Yeah, I see, dog.
I
I might give it a
also
shot.
I also started the webtoons Dice and Noblesse. I don't know. I don't really know what Noblesse is about right now, but Dice is about how like you got this dice that can like pretty much change your life. Like it gives this thing, this alternate higher being. As long as you have this dice, it knows everything that's going on with you, and it texts you through phone. And it has like a kind of a psycho bored personality where like it craves entertainment through other people's misfortunes or whatever. Um, and like it gives you quests and things to do, and it rewards you more dice and or die, and you can use your excess amount of die to upgrade your personal abilities like strength and endurance and agility and things like that. But I ran out of free chapters. I can read a chapter a day for free, so tomorrow I'll find out more about it.
Oh, word.
Yes, sir.
Sounds like a plan. Shoot.
So, what would you like to start off with, Herbase?
Let's go ahead and bust that Jujutsu Kaisen out.
Okay.
So, let's see. The Reggie, he uses this esoteric hollow worker basket. It's his version of the domain. So,
Thinking
it's
he'd be
original.
safe from Megumi's domain.
Yeah. It's like a new shadow style simple domain. It's supposed to neutralize the domain and negate the guaranteed hit. But little does he know, Fushigoro's domain isn't all that complete. So basically, it just serves as a way to extend his 10 shadows technique and expands his potential by 120%. So, so that so then he summons some frogs and they go to beating up Reggie. And my man Megami pulls out his shadow clone jutsu. So that was exciting. That almost was my flavor of the week, but I had to give it to Fratricide, you know. But anyhow, so apparently the whole domain is Megami Shadow, and anything in the domain he has to have the weight of. So it's kind of like he gets heavier, I guess you could say,
Mm-hmm.
and he could store stuff in and out of his shadow, and that's how he brings it out. But he has to carry the weight. So then the villain summons a whole bunch of vehicles to weigh him down. And he's like, I figured you out. I figured out the drawback to your domain and what it does. And then Megan was like, oh, he forgot about one more shadow. He drops an elephant on him. I was like, oh, snap. So,
I don't really know
it was,
how Reggie figured out the that shit.
well, he figured it out because
Well,
Megan Me,
he was just wondering why he didn't carry a weapon, but like,
no, he saw that Megan Me had a weapon, but it wasn't like a heavy or bulky weapon. It was something like a long knife or something. But
yeah, but like, what if that's just what he prefers?
uh, that kind of blade, I would have just got like a sword or something. But anything pulled out was small, so he kind of equated it to that.
And with Reggie's logic, so like, this man is just like I don't know. Do his shadows carry weight? Like, is he just carrying an elephant, a giant bird, a giant wolf, and a lot of freaking frogs all the time?
I don't know. I figure it has to do something like Shikigami contract or something he has.
I guess.
Yeah. So I don't know. But that was that. Ended the episode. Excited for the next one. So
Yeah. So, how many episodes of Sakugan was there for you?
I watched all 3 episodes.
Oh, there were 9 English episodes, or did you transfer to?
There was 10 English episodes.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna run out of the
I'll have to watch it in sub at
the
some
last
point.
one. Yeah, the last one in sub.
Yeah.
Okay. Dragon Ball, Sakugan, Tower of God. I guess Boruto. You can go ahead and
I
record.
didn't. I didn't get. I didn't do those because they just came out.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right, so Sakugan, um, Tower of God, and
Free
ReZero.
Zero, the weak hero. It's all right. So I
That's
guess
an appropriate title for Subaru Natsuki.
he is. All right. So I'll start on this week installment of Tower of God. So they get to the 40th floor, and it has crystal shard fishes. They're vicious, and they travel in groups, and that's the new threat for the level. And we find out that Sachi knows a scout on the 40th floor, but he wants nothing to do with the train. They arrive, and we flash to Bam training, and he's trying to be taught the equivalent of like a domain expansion, kind of, sort of, liking it that way, where he controlled all the Senshu in the room or in a given space. So, and we kind of find out that, uh, yeah, well, I think the regulars are they're granted authority to control the Senshu, but like Bam always had that ability. So I kind of flashed back to the first test when Leroy pushed out everyone except for Bam. Bam was like, "Oh, do you need me to go out so you can so I could try to get back in?" And he was like, "Oh, I guess not. You pass." So yeah, so that happens. Bam had yeah, Bam kind of was different, and he got the ability because he opened the door, and Bam has to master the Senshu black hole spear, and there's mushrooms on the 40th floor, and the
Okay, but
boys.
do you really? Let's talk about how he mastered it.
Yeah, you can talk about that real quick.
All right, my man Bam couldn't grasp the concept of the spear, the attack, and he just kept telling the Guardians, "Could you just hit me with this?" It's like, "What? You'll die." I was like, "I always understand attacks a lot better after I'm hit with it first." I was like, "Okay, all right." So eventually, after always persisting that, "Hey, I need you to hit me with this attack. I will be okay." Bam learned it through being attacked with it. That's why Bam's OP. Once you show him something, he does it.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So yeah, so the mysterious eyes. He calls himself like a pointer, a painter. Uh, which we learn his name is later Hockney, and he likes the scenery. That's why he stayed on the 40th floor, and he has remarkable abilities, and he's waiting for someone or something, as we find later, to come through his path.
Probably
And
Bam.
nah, it's the painting with his soul he's looking for.
Well, yeah, but the someone, it's probably Bam.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm saying it's a painting. So the two beings, Jordan and Arca, they don't want him to leave. They say we can't protect ourselves unless you stay there. And then my man Hockney does a bungee gum like attack. And then he comes aboard and he starts looking for a picture. And the thing he was waiting for was a picture that he painted that was stolen from him. Ho Quinn and company got Hackney to get on the train through the use of Emily. They say that they have the missing piece, and later on they will try to negotiate. And we find out that Hackney escaped the floor of death and became a regular. They
Hmm.
want to know how he did it, and we find that Wang Nan grew up in a cold place, so that's why he's kind of like in the freezer. He's like, I don't really need too much. I grew up in a cold place. And Wang Nan wants Rachel to be on her side, and she sets him free so that they can go talk. He says no, but um, well, she's like, yeah, I'm used to be hated, and she got used up when she climbed the tower, and he was like, why do you want to climb the tower with me? He's like, I'm used to be hated, and I climbed the tower with someone that wanted to kill her, which was Kun, and they called mutual goals and apparent friendship as an excuse to climb the tower.
No, but
And
that's
she
still
wants to climb the
bullshit
tower.
because
Yeah.
like she had friends and someone willing to take her up the tower if she would have never tried to kill Bam.
Yeah, well, you know, that had to be done, though.
It did not have to be done.
It did, because otherwise we wouldn't have this whole journey.
No, you could have made a whole different journey of Bam trying to. I mean, like, listen. Rachel needs to be hated for what she did. I'm sure that at some point the author will try to make us like Rachel, but the whole process of her betraying Bam makes no sense. You betrayed the one person who actually cares about you, who wanted to help you climb the tower, to use people to help you climb the tower. Like, Bam, who she later on admits has everything she wants besides the stars. And, like, she had dreams of, like, not being able to see, blah, blah, blah. Like, Bam having friends and not needing her, which means this was a subconscious worry for her. But you spent 2 years or 5 years, however many years, I forget the time skip, traveling with everyone you would have traveled with had you left Bam alone. Like, up to that point, the story would have kind of stayed the same for those 2 to 5 years, whatever the time frame is, because we didn't see those amount of years, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Anyways, go on.
Yeah, so he says he will climb the tower with her if she lets Missing go. And then he says, I'm still going to kill you for killing Arc Raptor. And then Khan starts training with Evan. And Evan says the floor of death is a dangerous place, even in the tower. And asks to know why Khan wanted to do that. And Khan replies, ever since I saw Bam with the Black March, I knew if I followed him, something very interesting would happen. So after a monologue about risking his life, and he says he feels like the end of the world would come if Bam isn't here. So I'm like, oh, okay. And Khan's like, I understand why Rachel and Bam have that certain dynamic now. And so then Evan's like, what happens when Bam grows too strong? And he's like, well, a shark can't swim with minnows forever. I was like, dang, that's deep. So Khan says to go as far as he can. And then we flash to Bam. And then Bam wants the rice pot man to attack him so he can learn the skill. Wang Nam returns and tells Missing the news of him climbing the tower with Rachel. Tells Missing to flee and live like he doesn't exist. And she's all like, no, I can make my own decisions and da da da, and this, that, and the other, other little trivial matters.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 days to train, then they time skip 2 months, and they get to the 42nd floor. I think it's a little colder there. Kasano goes with missing to leave the train, and then they go back to 2 months earlier. Missing doesn't want to leave Wangnan, doesn't care if she dies, and he tells her this cryptic message to tell the people and not to tell them what he's doing. Kasano's having an internal struggle, and I feel like there's some treachery afoot. Wang Nan vows to kill Rachel on the floor of death, and Bam figures out the secret technique. Bam says it's like a plug that was removed. His body is lighter from learning that technique. It's kind of, I guess he liked it to, it was something that was plugging him up that stopped him from learning, but now he can learn more. Something like that. Uh, so the next floor starts, and that test starts on the floor, and they have to destroy the crystal shards. Passes with ease, and my man Kun passes, and he uses a spear. He's like, I haven't used one of those in a while, but he destroyed everything. Everyone passes. Hockney talks to Sachi's group. Doesn't understand why they want to go to the floor of death. Says it's a place where all life goes to die. And Hockey used to live on the floor, and they're all surprised by this. He was a native. There are gatekeepers at the entrance to devour people. Sachi Boro surmised that Rachel tricked Hockney into going on the train. Bam makes his way back to the group. Yuri and Evan are talking and question what fate has in store. Flash to Wang Nan, his heart's racing, and he feels like he's heading to some place where he's always supposed to be or supposed to go. And then sudden night happens for at least a month or two, and then they arrive. And we find out that the floor was created by Anryu killing the administrator. It's covered in his blood, and that's just the outer floor. And they have to go inside the corpse to see the floor, the real floor of death. Hoquin is able to leave the train on the floor because it neutralizes spells and contracts with administrators. And they tell Hockney the painting can be found on the floor. So this part was interesting here. Um, so they have to jump from the train, and what this is funny because Khan's like, well, we'll see if you jump, and if you survive, we'll determine that it's safe for us to get in there. Then we'll join you, which is funny.
Kun the
Eh,
troll.
yeah. Then Rachel group shows up and they chit chat and talk, and they make a deal for information on the Thorn and friends they have in place of them leaving the train, so they won't attack. Khan senses trickeries afoot and why Wang Nan didn't contact them. Some more idle chit chat. Then Karaka shows up and Yuri springs into action. Chaos ensues, and Bam tries out his new technique. And he does it, and Evan's like, when did he learn such a technique? He's really, really powerful, or he's better than he was when he first started. So he's amazed at his growth. And we find out Jihad and the 10 great family leaders made a deal for immortality, which is cool. Uh, and then they all have to simultaneously jump in so that they can be on the same path. And my man Bam sees this light, and he's like, "Oh, it feels like I've returned, and I'm supposed to go there with the light." And he's like, "It feels like I've lived here for a long time before or something." I think it's his previous life bleeding over. And then he continues to make his way to the light, and Hockey and Bam end up somewhere else from the rest of the group. And then we find out that Yeon flashed to Yeon's group, and we find out that her flame that was inside her from the family saved them from Yuri's attack. And then my man Rack might not have been saved, which is sad. I think I might stop reading after this. Just kidding. Beta wants to go to the floor so he can let loose, because I guess he's considered a weapon somewhat. And then we find a Meta, a big giant creature, who's actually the host, since Meta is a parasite, and he is Hackney's friend, and he escaped. He let him escape the zone, and then so gatekeeper shows up. They fight, and Dorsey charges in and fights it and kills it. And something dislodges from the main body. It was like a fastball, and then my man Kun starts using his inner core skill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they mentioned a Richie Falwan, which I assuming is a higher power there on the floor somewhere. So basically, the inner core skill is Kun's lighthouse is split into little lighthouses. I think it's like nine different side, well, nine pieces on the side or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and it has a Misty Spear, and he traps the thing that shot out in it, and it allows you to perform calculations of nine lighthouses with just one, and it has a teleportation technique that allows you to catch opponents because they'll just everywhere they run, they just get teleported back into the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a red crystal mode that teleports an enemy to wherever you want to. So whenever if you try to charge the zone and break it, you just teleport him right there. And so he had Boro hold out his sword to kill it. So that's what he did. And then we flashed to Bam, and a high beam wants to take his souls, which I thought was interesting. So then we find that Beta. The only reason why it works is because Beta's kind of like in his lighthouse.
Yeah. He
So
hasn't perfected it yet.
yeah, and it's due to Beta being there, and it's kind of like a joint collaboration.
Which seemed surprisingly cooperative of Beta.
Yeah. Well, Beta gets let loose now, but then I also they flash back to Meta's group, and Bam's slowly waking up. They're like, shh, be quiet for a second, and then Bam starts asking all these questions. I'm like, why is it when they tell you to be quiet, you just ask more questions? So then they
Plotting.
described, yeah, they described the stuff that they encountered earlier, like the orb that came out, and they determine locations, and leeches come to clean up, sort of. Uh, so they come from the Soul Taker, and even though they try to hide them, the Soul Taker's like, oh, I still see them. You can't fool me. And so he sent out some soulfish to come devour the souls, and then the souls Bam had gotten before come out, and I was like, oh man. At first, I was thinking this is because he's the 25th Bam. Does he have 25 souls? But now I was like, oh, these are the souls from Hoquin's people.
I like your thought process though.
Yeah, so I was like, he's like, oh, can you just take my soul, leave those souls in there? And he's like, no. So then he decides to test Bam, and he throws spears, and he defeats the spear in one shot. And everyone's like, oh my god, he just defeated the spear. So, and he said, I can't allow you any further. And then the all being says, let them inside alive. And then the hermit in the North City, Garam, and I think it's Kun Machini's there. So it's pretty interesting. So yeah.
That was the end.
Yep, that was in. That's all I did.
Yeah, I love Bam because like he's so innocent. He's just like, can I just give you my soul? Like I've taken responsibility of those souls.
Yeah.
Bam's such a good guy. How you liking it? What are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, that's good. Excited to see what it leads to and what goes on.
All right, Irby's opinion has slowly grown for Tower of God.
No, I just thought it was interesting. I just like playing hard to get.
Whoa. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So when it comes to some things. But hey.
All right, sir. Well, what would you like to discuss next?
I guess we could do some Sakugan and then let you finish up with the good old ReZero.
3-0, bro.
Yeah, that was some craziness there. So, episode
Episode 7.
7, yeah, on the road. Starts off with Memimpu having a dream uh, about Urarop and stuff, and
Well, allegedly about
yeah,
Urarop. Or Urarop or Uropo?
yeah, I don't. Urarop is what they always say.
Okay.
So she has a dream, and but it's her turn to drive the machine, and she's like, "Why don't you just put an autopilot?" And they're like, "Oh, I watch when we alert for kaijins or whatever," and like she doesn't know. Um, so then they start arguing about breakfast and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and which is funny. And Zach Letsu was like, "You just want to go because they want to travel to the city and rest in a bed and stuff." And she's like, "You just want to go to a city for women and booze." And then she's like, "I saw what you was doing behind that rock over there." He's like, "Shh, be quiet." So they call themselves a team now, even though this I don't really know if it's functional.
Well, the
And
way they
then
decide who's in charge is they play cards, and like whoever wins gets to decide what's going on next.
yeah,
Well, the problem with that is Memento might be the smartest fucking person there, but she's still a child, and like she just wants to get to this destination. Like she had no concern for the group, their
yeah,
state, their well being, and like when Gagumber called her out on it, everyone was like, "Hey, you need to apologize." There was like, "He's right. She won't listen. She needs that stubbornness."
yeah. I know. So so
I thought
I
they
feel
got.
like
By the way, I thought they got caught in a genjutsu.
I did too. With the, I was like, are they in a loop saying the same thing over and over? But then I looked at the signs and they were going to different signs. I was like, they're not in a loop. They're just saying the same thing over and over again. Uh, so,
But why
so
did
Mimim,
Memempu like was? Why do you think she was okay?
because she put on her mask after the first time they said it,
Mm.
because she got sneezy. So the stuff wasn't in her system. But yeah, then we find that the red flowers that Yuri was making uh, was a fake, and it actually caused hallucinations and other symptoms.
But then
And
Zach
then,
Letsu found in her book of information that the cactus thingy countered the hallucinations. So they all drank cactus juice and got worse. And then Memempu looks and was like, "Oh, can be mistaken for the fake version, which actually makes things worse."
yeah,
I'm like, "What?
yeah, so,
What do we have so many similar looking plants?"
yeah. Mm-mm-mm. And so we get to her dream again, and Gaggenberg is dying in the dream, and she like throws a fit, and she runs to the ship, and Gaggenberg grabs her, and she falls, and she hurts herself, and she has another dream, and apparently she's a baby, and this lady's like watching.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, but yeah, Miminpu, she thinks because she knows exactly where to go that they always should follow her lead, even though Goggenberg's like sometimes you just gotta trust your gut. And I think what he's trying to do is get her to realize that there's more to things just maps. You just gotta trust your gut and trust yourself sometimes, being a marker.
But she's still like annoying me because like, all right, she has this dream that she swears is real. Like real realistic, feels real, where Gagumber dies and like his blood is painting these flowers red.
Flowers, yeah.
Up until now, the flowers have always been red, but now the flowers are white and are painted red by his blood. But
Yeah.
instead of being like, okay, all right, I understand her curiosity about the place and wants to see what's going on, but like, you don't want to at least make sure, hey, this guy's sick, this chick's fucking batshit crazy and crying, and homeboy, I don't know what's going on with your dad, but like, you wouldn't want your team to be like the dream feels real to you and you want to rush there to see if it happens. You don't want to like be in the best condition possible to avoid that scenario.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, this doesn't. It's part of being like not fully grown and understand the situation yet.
How many
So
doctorates does she have?
13.
Fucking hell, dude.
There's a difference between being like book smart and like regular smart.
Yeah, she ain't got
And
no street
she,
smarts.
yeah.
Oh my
So,
god.
so episode 8, memories and regrets. So we find out that his partner was killed somehow, and then they finally get Yuri to the hospital, and Zach lets you act as a Goggenberg apologize, and he doesn't. And then we find out somehow it's dangerous to play in the streets because the kid's father came out and was like, "Hey, you kids get out the streets. It's dangerous."
It looked like those two grown-ups were gonna do something right before he came out.
Yeah, or something. I was like, it's dangerous to be in the streets. So we find they're all angry at each other, but no one wants to speak to each other. And then old man Pops comes in. You find out his old friend, and we finally found a name that Rufus, his that's the name of his friend that died. And then Zach, the kid brother, um, that's the name. I was like Zach. I was like, huh. Which kind of here I was kind of was like when I saw the photo, I was like, oh, she. If they had longer hair, I was like, huh. But I didn't really think too much of it at that time. And we are finding Guggenberg couldn't always own up to stuff or face facts. And then this is when Yuri tells him that Zach wanted to find Guggenberg information. That's what she had for him. And then we find out it's for revenge. She earlier when she speaking with Mimpu, she gave her some tea, which apparently had a sedative in it, and she ties her up and takes her into this warehouse.
Hmm.
And so they start talking. She starts shooting. She got him there by saying, "Oh, I have my Mimpu," and then shoots the radio device. I'm like, "Oh man."
I actually didn't pick up on that. I didn't. I thought she just kind of passed out. That's. I didn't pick up on the drug part.
Yeah, because she just was talking, and because they drank a little bit, and then she just whoop. Because if she passed out, like there's no, if she got tied up, like normally someone starts fooling with your body while you're gonna wake up. Uh, so and they start shooting and all this stuff, and we find out that Goggenberg actually has a chip that her brother had developed that helps him. That's why they call him Gale Force because it's like he kind of sense stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then Meminku starts to fall, and then but while he's talking about this, he's like, uh, I wrote a program to not let the chip ever activate again ever since your brother died, and this, that, and the other. And then to save Memimpu, it activates, and he saves her. And apparently, that activation caused a bunch of his nerves and stuff to be severed and such. But he saves her. He starts coughing up blood, and she's like, "Don't die on me. We'll get you to the hospital."
Now, what do you think caused Zach Letsu to act? Do you think it was him not apologizing to Memempu, or do you think it was just them being back in the city?
I think the opportunity just presented itself,
Hmm.
like being in that city and having the space, because I think she was familiar with that because that's where she grew up.
But like, she could have took revenge on him a couple times already, if that was her ultimate goal.
I think she needed the stage for it. Like
Hmm.
it's kind of like when like a villain they go back to the scene of the crime and they tell, "Hey, Batman, I'll be here at this place. This is where it all started. Where I fell into this vat of whatever that changed my life forever."
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that villainy, but she's not really a villain. And then so they all they all reconnoiter, and then Zach wants to leave, but Memimpu doesn't want her to leave, and she says, "I really will let you have it next time." and then she flashes back to her brother, which I still kind of want to know what happened to the brother because I all you see is a bunch of blood. Like it kind of leads it to think that like someone came in there like slaughtered them all or something, but
Yeah, but also the show by the next episode makes it seem like we're not gonna figure it out.
at least not now. You might have to read it or something.
But Memempu, I think in the next episode brings this up as well, and I'm just like, oh, so we're gonna acknowledge this, but still do nothing to like iron it out. Like they kind of just went back to being a team pretty normally.
Yeah, that's kind of what family does.
They're not family.
I don't know. They probably grew the family real quick. I have no idea,
I don't know,
but
man. I
but
feel like
yes,
that's a plot hole, maybe, or maybe the author
yeah,
just didn't want to. Or I could, yeah, actually, the manga could actually probably flesh it out a little, and it's just the anime and it cut out some scenes.
yeah. So I don't know. So end of vacation, episode 9. There's a code 9, a mysterious being killing people. I think it's called a Shibito, and uh, so we find that Yuri really likes flowers, and I'm trying to figure out like Zach Letsu. Is that like her real last name, Letsu, or did she just like adopt that moniker somewhere? Because if that was the case, he should have known that she was Rufus's brother or sister per se.
I think she just adopted the last half of it, and it has nothing to do with her original name. Because he probably would have realized it right away.
Yeah. So
Because um, Homeboy is clearly still weighing on his mind constantly.
yeah, he thinks about him all the time. You
Which,
know what
like,
they say?
if he knew how to be honest, I feel like this could have been smoothed out easier, and it would have made more sense how they can travel together. But
But he didn't know that was her.
no,
She
I mean,
didn't. He
even
didn't.
after, like, they didn't even talk about it.
Yeah, which I think is kind of silly. But you know, they say a thought is love's currency, though. Just so you know. So
Yeah, because that'll work.
yeah. So what happens too is apparently he hangs off his underwear flying from a clothesline when they drive, and she's like, you need to do something about that. And he's like, oh, I seem to recall when you used to run around with that them silly underwears on top of your head. And I was like, ha, that's hilarious. So then they keep driving, and then they pit stop and go for a swim.
Can't
Then it
do it
starts
now.
hailing. Yeah. Then it starts hailing, and then they get flooded and washed away, and there's a cave in. So so then we find out that Big Tony has an amphibian system, but they're all out of juice. And Memimpu had a plan to build a boat, which is really just a raft. And so then she kind of has a moment where she thinks she's like, I have to lead these childish grown-ups and stuff.
But all her plans kept failing.
Yeah. And she was being a child some bit. And then so we find out Goggenberg's been going in the woods to get her papaya every day because she likes it. And then she gets an idea. And she comes up with a way to generate electricity for an SOS signal.
Now, here was another thing I was confused about. Where'd she get all those metal plates?
I don't know. She
There
might
was
have
a
taken them.
shit ton of them, dude.
She might have taken them off various parts of Big Tony or the other machines,
Maybe, I don't know.
or they could have been stacked up somewhere in the storage area. So, yeah, I have a note here. They don't really make up, but they act like it's all cool. And then she tells Goggenberg about her dream, and he's pretty much like, "I don't plan on dying." And then she said, "You don't take me seriously." He's like, "Oh no, I do take you seriously, but
It's like, we shouldn't be partners because you can't believe me.
yeah." And he's like, "Just we could be partners, but I don't always have to agree with what you say, you know. And so it's a big struggle right there. And then Neroro shows up to the SOS, and that ends the episode. And then we flash to the two beings, and he's like, "Oh, I guess those beings are destroying the underground stuff."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's
So
nice,
yeah, I'm
nice
enjoying
there.
it so far. I think there's a little. I'm hoping that it's the animators that are like skipping a couple scenes just for like shortcuts, rather
Yeah,
than the author literally just like, hey, these two are okay now, because like that would suck. That's lazy writing.
yeah. You would know, Mister Writer.
I mean, I hope I don't have moments like that, but like I have a couple people I trust to like question me on things before it gets far as it gets as far as that. And it's like, hey, what the fuck are you doing there? And it's like, I don't really know.
Yeah. Hmm, interesting.
Although one of my readers hasn't read the last 4 or 5 updates.
Hey, though, it be like that.
But I digress. ReZero. Okay, okay. We resume, and my man Subaru got saved by Beatrice. Beatrice won't let Subaru out. Beatrice isn't good at showing her feelings, it seems, but Subaru clearly heard her when he said, "You shouldn't have saved me. You should have just let me die." Blah blah blah, and her eyes watered up, and she can't really answer directly.
Yeah.
But Beatrice clearly doesn't want Subaru to die, and her actions are part of the gospel that she holds that looks similar to the other gospel. So Subaru thinks that Beatrice is part of the cult, and she said everything she's ever done has been for Mother, and like then I question like who the hell is Mother, because it seems like all of the bishops worship their own specific witch, but like when you like, all right, let's the witch of greed for example, Echidna. She doesn't seem like a bad person at all. So what? Why would her bishop be a bad person? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe all the, or maybe there's no. Okay, so here I'm gonna put out a theory right now. Maybe all the bishops follow the witch of envy, and there's no bishop of envy, and she labeled all the bishops as the other witches. It's just a theory.
Interesting.
And then Elsa shows up in the room, and I'm wondering, did Beatrice not move the room because Subaru was distracting her, or did Beatrice allow Elsa to come in? And then Elsa kills Subaru in front of Beatrice, and Beatrice, well, first and foremost, he tries to protect her because whether he questions her or not, Subaru still cares about Beatrice, and so
So
Elsa ends up, what's up?
I just thought about this though because I guess kind of later on they talk about how the witches the reason why he gets reborn. I'm thinking like if he would have killed himself there, that wasn't might not have caused him to reset. You know,
What makes you
with
think
that
that?
because as long as the witch has certain notions, he can keep getting reborn by death. So I was thinking like she's trying to show him like certain fates have to be done before you can do that. So that's why maybe Elsa came in and killed him.
Well, the
Just
things
that's
that
just a thought. I don't know.
as as
It comes
far
up
as
later though, so we talk about it then.
it does. All right, yeah, okay, all right. So Elsa kills Subaru in front of Beatrice, and Garfield. Then Subaru gets reborn, and he goes through the process again, and like Garfield once again like changes his actions.
Demeanor, yeah.
Yeah, and then we find out that like Federica only can escape the sanctuary because she is a quarter beast instead of a half and half. So you must have at least 50%. Um, like you must be a demi human basically, a half and
Yeah.
half to be trapped under the conditions. And Subaru was basically talking to Garfield and Ryuzo,
Yeah.
and he was a little more cautious about his words, and he was telling them that like he can take the trial, he wants to take the trial, blah blah. He's qualified, and there must be. And I thought there were people watching him because Ryuzo was like, just endure what's about to happen. My man Garf choked out Subaru, knocked him out, and Subaru wakes up blindfolded and gagged. And we find out that Garfield would never trust Subaru because he reeks of the stench of the witch. So we find that Garfield can actually sense the or smell the scent on Subaru just like Rem and Rom can.
Probably like a beast thing.
Yeah, and we found out that yeah Garfield doesn't actually trust Subaru, and then a traveler dude, his last interaction.
Otto.
Otto, yeah, I did learn his name towards the end because he proved to be someone whose name was worth learning. But like the show cuts out in an area where it makes you think that Otto is going to betray Subaru, and then he like shows up and saves him. It's like, Otto, you're not a bad guy, are you? I mean, you had a questionable moment that one episode where you died by the whale, but other than that, you've been pretty stand up.
Yeah.
Otto basically gives Subaru updates on what's going on out there. The people were looking for him, and he's been getting information secondhand from Q next episode. Rom was helping Otto to free Subaru, and um, Subaru was saying he wants to take the trial, but also wants to talk to Roswell. And I'm thinking, you already lost like 3 days. You should just kind of die.
Yeah.
And he tried to kill himself when he was a prisoner. He tried to bite off his tongue. And I was like, you tried to do it that time. Well, why aren't you doing it now? You're running out of time, dude. So, Subaru confronts Roswell about Beatrice and found out that she is not the enemy. She actually has a book that resembles the gospel, but the gospel he's referring to is a fake gospel, and hers, there's only 2 of hers in existence. But here are the
Also,
things
that's a
that don't
feature.
make sense to me. Beatrice was sad when Pedalgoose died.
Yeah.
So, like, the Gospels have to be related. Beatrice has to relate to the witch's cult somehow. I don't
Maybe. I don't know.
know.
I think they were called got her books like the Tomb of Wisdom. So I feel like it might have to do with the Witch of Envy because she knows all. So
Okay, so Rom once again told Subaru what to tell Beatrice, and he didn't do it the first time because of circumstances, but the result was Roswell gave him something else to say that would definitely um, get her on his side if he didn't feel like she was on his side. And then Ron,
I am that person.
yeah, I am that person. And then like it was gonna be Rom, Subaru, and Otto traveling on the one dragon thing, and Rom being as cold as ever. It's like even if the 2 of you only amount to half a man, you still take up a man's space, which is a waste.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, Rom, why you always coming for bro? Chill. You didn't even have to
Tells
say
her
it
how
like
it
that.
is.
Yeah. And Garf shows up, and Rom started fighting Garf, and Garf's like, "Careful, babe. Even though I got the hots for you, doesn't mean I won't rip your arm off." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So Rom is distracting them. Otto and Subaru dip, and then hello, here comes Transform Garf, big ass licking tiger.
Yeah.
Subaru tries to sacrifice himself to save everyone else because the villagers show up to help Otto and Subaru escape. And in the midst of Subaru trying to sacrifice himself, Otto in turns gets himself killed, and like people start dying for Subaru, and I'm just like, Subaru, just fucking die. And he's like, um, and then he disappears into a white snow, and like I thought he was taking the second trial, and like at this point I'm like, do not take the trial. You need to die. A lot of people died. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But then we get introduced to the Great Rabbit, because Subaru was covered in a snow area. He saw one rabbit. He goes to pick it up, and boom, loses his fingers, and actually he lost his whole hand.
Yeah, lost his hands and they ate some of his fingers.
And then they took his foot, and then all the rabbits came and ate him alive, which looked horrible.
Yeah, that was terrible. I was like, oh man, that's awful.
Yeah, and I even put a note here and said that can't be a pleasant way to die. And then Echidna invited Subaru to the witch's tea party again, and
Yeah. I think she said he passed the second test.
mm-hmm.
So I was like, huh.
And then Subaru, the way Echidna interacts with Subaru makes me feel like she's not a bad person. She's just like relieved that like she can,
Yeah,
I
someone
guess,
to talk to.
yeah. And then like Subaru finally tells Echidna about him coming back by death, which she already knows. But like the amount of weight, I guess they got lifted off his heart from being able to talk about it. He just like kind of broke down, and like Echidna's character is a really interesting character. I'm just wondering if she eventually turns on him.
Yeah, because she was like, because she said, are you going to break down and cry in my lap or something? And
Mm-hmm.
basically that's what she did. He basically did. And so I was like, huh.
And she
She
based,
sees the future.
yeah, and she basically like stated in the next episode her dislike for the curse that Subaru is under. And here's where we get into it a little about it. So like let me see this. We're assuming they're assuming that the Witch of Envy doesn't want Subaru to die. But what's going on here is what Echidna was suggesting was that the curse placed on you is to prevent you from dying. But since people keep dying, you want to save them. You're using it and changing your fate to get the best possible scenario, which is why sometimes things doesn't work out because it's not meant to save other people. It's only meant to save you. So let's circle back to what you were saying in your theory, and like let's figure out the differences between the two, I guess.
Yeah.
So again, one more time, remind me, what was your theory about him dying?
Like, I think, he, well, he can kill himself, come back, but I feel like it had more meaning if Elsa would have came and killed him because at that time she could have not had any faith in him. But like if Elsa killed him, she would be like, oh well, that's not the ending I wanted for him. So let me restart it. So
To, mm, I don't know.
yeah,
I feel like this
it's
all
like
leads up to like the Witch of Envy, Satella wants Subaru to do something.
yeah, and we don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah, and I feel like she might. Okay, all right. Hear me out on this, right? Roswald, Beatrice, Beatrice Gospel. Only two of them in existence. It tells the future. What if Satella has the other book?
I think Roswald has the other book.
I feel like Satella has the other book, and that's why she placed the curse on Subaru because she knows Subaru in the future could potentially help her. But then, Subaru keeps killing himself, and that book has probably changed a couple times.
Yeah, or he might be the key to break the link. Or maybe what if the book's only assigned to certain people and she needs Subaru to break the link to get her hands on the book.
Or that. And I still would like to know where the fuck Puck is, but let's carry on. So,
Puck had to go do something.
so Echidna mentioned the three great mobbies: the white whale, which we killed, the black serpent we haven't met yet, and the great rabbit, which just killed Subaru. The Witch of Gluttony created them, and the great rabbit has this unsatiable hunger, and can multiply itself indefinitely. And basically, to kill the great rabbit, you have to kill them all at once.
Yep.
But we don't really find that out until later. It was just something I remembered and noted. And the great rabbit's the hardest one to kill. It's always hungry. Subaru asks Echidna if there's a way to save everyone, and she isn't suggesting this, but she might be able to get him a sitting with Daphne. In that world they're in Subaru's mind, if Subaru, she warns him that if your mind gets attacked, it won't heal. Like it won't. If you if you're damaged psychologically in here, it will affect you in the real world. So, um, Echidna switches, and a child shows up. And the child asks him if he's a bad person, and before you know it, he took his arm off, and he freaked out and was like, "Oh, you must not be a bad person if you didn't feel pain." I was like, "What?"
Yeah. Typhoon.
But like, here was the thing about meeting Typhon. Even if he didn't know that it wasn't Daphne, Echidna said, "Do not interact with her. Don't look her in her eyes. Don't touch her." And the first thing he did when Child extended hand was shake.
Yeah, that's why I was like,
You
how
fucking dumbass.
I was like, how deaf can you be? I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
what are
like
you
she
doing?
just told you. Obviously, this kid's a little batshit nuts.
Yeah.
All right, so she tears the man's arm off, and like Subaru was warned. Whoever this and then like who
Minerva, the Witch of
Minerva,
Wrath.
yeah, Minerva put him back, which you hear the Witch of Wrath, and then she comes and heals the dude, and like you're thinking different things at this point. And, like, don't judge a book by its fucking cover, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but Minerva goes out, and Daphne finally shows up, and she's like chained up to this mechanism, and she is already infatuated by Subaru's odor. Maybe she smells the witch's magic, envy, the
Yeah.
Satella's magic, or
Yeah.
maybe she kind of smells that he just got eaten by her rabbits. But these witches and their personalities weren't really adding up for me. Echidna started seeming like the more normal one, and she drinks her own bodily fluids.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
but Subaru asks Daphne about the rabbits and about the great mobbies and why she made them, and she actually had a decent, like, it wasn't a bad reason. But then on the
yeah.
other side, it was just like, oh, but you don't care that they're doing this. Like, for example, the great rabbit always multiplies itself, so people will never run out of food. But then she's like, but who's to say what you're hunting won't start hunting you?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, all right, so you're giving humanity a solution for problems, but you're also like, hey, here's another problem.
Yeah.
Which, can you even eat a monster? Should you even eat a monster?
You could get some powers.
Hey, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, and then after he got, I guess, everything she was willing to give him, she went back, and Echidna and Subaru, after talking for a little bit, Subaru bargained to let him remember her, and she basically told him if he asked her like how can he come back to the tea party, and she said basically your desperate desire to get here must be more than the last each time. So it's only going to get harder and harder to get to the tea party.
Yeah.
And um Subaru awakens again from dying, and Garv saved Subaru, but Subaru, and I was really confused about Garv saving Subaru because he was about to die again, because Subaru should smell more like the witch than anything right now because he just died. So I'm confused again.
Well, that I think partly that's because of the trial. What that's why Garth didn't like him too much because that was part of the trial or whatever. That version of Garth.
Hmm. You think that whole segment was part of the second trial?
Yeah.
Hmm.
because he passed the second trial after the fact of being eaten by the rabbits. She's like, oh, you passed the second trial.
No, I don't.
So
I don't think he passed the second try. I think he just got successfully invited to the tea party.
no, she said you passed the second trial.
Oh no, are all those people dead?
Well, I feel like the trial is something you face in your mind. Like that stuff didn't actually happen. Like when the first trial was he went through all of that stuff and he still was in the sanctuary. And after he finished the tea party, he woke up in the sanctuary where he would have taken the second trial.
See, now you're fucking confusing me more. I don't know what's going on. I need to watch the next 3 episodes next week.
Yeah, I think all that other stuff, yeah, that happened in the second trial, like in his mind. I don't actually think it took place per se.
All right, I guess we'll
Um,
find out
yeah.
by next week. So, thoughts, comments, concerns?
Nope. I got nothing.
Okay. Despite the confusion it leaves with me very frequently, I loved ReZero. ReZero has climbed my list of anime, and it is one I would consider at least top five once depending on how it finishes.
Five.
At least top five.
Yeah, it's
I think it
pretty
has that.
good.
I think it has that potential.
We shall see what comes about.
All right, Irby, just switch it up. You want to do an outro?
Nah, I'll let you do it, big dog.
All right, guys. That's gonna do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, share. You know where to find us. Peace.
Peace.